E aí, amigos do SennaTV, hoje o No Paddock traz um convidado especial, simplesmente o tricampeão mundial de Fórmula 1, Jackie Stewart. Pois é, eu falei com ele durante o GP Brasil de Fórmula 1 e, claro, o assunto foi Ayrton Senna. E olha, ele não fugiu das perguntas não, inclusive falou daquela briga que os dois tiveram na entrevista de 1990, aliás, do título desse carro aqui, que está hoje no Instituto Ayrton Senna. Vamos conferir? So, Jack, tell us about your relationship with Brazil. You raced with Emerson, you have Luciano Burti as your driver, Rubens Barrichello as a driver. You have a lot of interesting stories about Brazil. So tell us about your relationship with Brazil.
Well, the first came to Brazil was way back in 1969 when I had won my first World Championship. And I came with Ford Motor Company to visit a lot of countries in Latin America, but I came to Brazil and I presented Emerson with his trophy of the Formula Ford Championship. It was a happy relationship. It was great to build a friendship with Emerson and his family. And then, of course, I got to know Nelson Piquet very well. Of course, Rubens Barrichello became a great friend and drove for Paul and I at Paul Stewart Racing, and Luciano Burti, and there was too many Brazilian drivers. That was the problem. You know, here in Britain and Europe, I thought, what's happening? In Brazil, all these damn Brazilians are coming over. So I created something called the ABB.
ABB.
Another bloody Brazilian.
That's a famous story of you, Jack. Speaking about Ayrton, as you mentioned these days, I think maybe we have, I wrote a book about his relationship with media and the fans, and a lot of people that I interviewed said that if he was the president of Brazil, he wouldn't have that kind of a funeral. He was even bigger than that, you know, it's something that was impressive. Because
sport is a fantastic magnet, and he carried your flag around the world in a very proud and exciting way, and he was the most exciting driver because he was always on the limit. And by the way, the film that was made on him was a wonderful film, and that again took a lot of people by the heart. So, you know, he was a great ambassador for your country as well, as all your Formula One drivers have been. Mm-hmm. In the movie, there's a famous scene that you are doing the interviews in 99, and it was really a very good interview because you know a lot of the sport, and he was a little bit, of course, upset. To say the least, upset. But let's say that I think for you that's to get, I think one of the most famous motorsport sentences that he said, that if you are a racing driver, you need to go for the gap. If you see the gap, you go for the gap.
I find amazing for you to make such a question, Stuart, because you are very experienced and you know a lot about racing. And you should know that by being a racing driver, you are under risk all the time. And by being a racing driver means you are racing with other people. And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
How was your reaction to saying that he was so angry about it?
He made a mistake. That error of judgment gave him, however, the World Championship. And he knew what he was doing. I was the only one that said to him that I believe you did it intentionally. And he snapped. And he told me he would never speak to me again. And it took 2 years. And one night he phoned me up and said, Jackie, I know I'd never speak to you again, but I want to do something for motor racing safety. And they said, you've done so much for it. Can we be friends again? And I said, of course. And that very night I went to his hotel and we spent 2.5 hours together talking about how I saw him in the same position as I was in when I was the world champion. I was able to push for safety. And so would Ayrton been able to push for safety. Sadly, he was never given the chance because he died a few months later in Imola. But he decided that he needed to do that. And I think he knew what he did in Japan, and it was an intentional move. But having said that, I was an interviewer, but I had won the World Championship the same number of years as Ayrton. So therefore I felt I had to ask the question, because the other journalists were a little frightened to ask the question. So in that case you were calculating that he would give way, that he would let you through?
Of course, he would not close the way he did. From the moment he made the initial room, he would not come back and close the door again.
A calculated risk?
Of course.
Okay. Let me ask you another difficult question. If I were to count back all the world champions, and after all this is the 500th Grand Prix, that if you totaled up all of those great champions, the number of times they had made contact with other drivers, that you in the last 36 months or 48 months have been in contact with more other cars and drivers than they might have done in total.
And I mean, the answer is really good, because like you see the two very good drivers, the most talented drivers in the world, talking with arguments, and as you talk to him and he gives you arguments, and you back to with another good arguments as well, because it's known that Senna has a lot of accidents for sure, but maybe that's why do you think that's why Senna was really one of the most talents in the world,
and the most popular, because actually people like to see incidents. They don't want to see death.
Do you think maybe that's why people see that Ayrton was really a hero, because he has also the human side, so he could get angry, he could be 2 years without talking to you, or talking to there is a famous journalist here in Brazil, that's Reginaldo Leme, that you probably know from Global TV, that he also had an argument and stayed like 1 or 2 years without talking to him, and he said that was Ayrton in his pure state of mind.
I think he was colourful, he was glamorous, he was exciting, and he drove aggressively. He did take chances, and the people liked that. And he was a hero, and you can't hide from that. You know, he was a very popular hero. And it wasn't just in Brazil, it was the world.
Olha só que legal, pessoal, quanta história o Jack Stewart contou pra gente, né? Muito bacana ouvir esse papo, então dá um like no vídeo, né? Deixa aí o seu comentário também. E se você quiser ver outros vídeos do SennaTV, estão passando aqui, vê lá, clica, tá muito legal, tem vários papos bacanas, o Alonso, tem a história do musical Ayrton Senna, então não deixa de conferir. E outra coisa também, né? Os produtos da Ayrton Senna Shop estão à sua disposição, igual essa jaqueta aqui, super legal, tá bom? Valeu, até a próxima!